Hello and welcome to Cinemondo Explores Star Trek with Kathy, Mark, and Burke. Today's episode, The Return of the Archons. Stardate. Yeah.
The who?
Stardate
3156.2.
3156.2. And
Not 0.3 because I could have sworn it's 0.3.
No, it's 0.2. You were mistaken.
I'm wrong about everything in this show.
But this episode is about the time the Archons returned. It's
That's pretty much sums it up. Thanks for listening, guys.
No, it's a weird episode. I think maybe it's not one of the most beloved episodes. It's a little all over the place. It's a weird episode to me. I kind of like it because there's some weird performances in there and some fun performances by some great character actors. You know?
Yeah, and
but you know what?
Dialogue.
More importantly,
yes,
people need to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh,
if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. We would love it. And if you're listening to our podcast, run over to YouTube and put subscribe on there.
Absolutely.
And be sure and like and comment. We want to hear from you. That's all I gotta say.
Very important, Kathy. Good job.
Very important to butt in with that. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I would start with the Return of the Archons. You know, for up until we did a movie called Archons like last year, I thought it was Archons. So that's sad but true. You know,
Archons.
Well, you know, it's funny on Star Trek. Sometimes you can tell that they didn't really do a whole lot of rehearsal or table reads or whatever, and they each got their scripts, and some of the characters pronounced certain, alien race names wrong. Like, DeForest Kelley was kind of notable for like not pronouncing the word like everybody else on the cast is.
What was the really weird one he would say?
Where there was the Metrons and the Metrones. That was
Metrones, yeah. And Balak and Balak. and
that seems realistic, really, because I don't know anyone that pronounces a lot of stuff the same.
But in this one, you got a great character actor who was in some of those Sinbad movies and stuff. Torin Thatcher.
Yes,
and there's a character in this story named Landru, and I think there's a scene where Torin Thatcher says Landru, and so you're like, okay, I guess they just were like, not worth it. Let's just go with it. It's Torin Thatcher,
Yeah, and Harry Towns is who plays Redger, who is also another very familiar face for anybody watching TV.
He's great.
60s and 70s. So he's
one of the great reactors. Like when people say things, and he's like,
I love that when he kept
reacting,
saying, but he is not of the body. He is not of the body. He's not of the body. Like. He was scared, legitimately scared. But it's actually
a quick synopsis.
Do it. Yeah, because Kathy didn't like this episode.
Can't fucking stand it. It's terrible.
It's
terrible episode.
Bad.
Hated it.
Oh no.
Well, they go to this planet, right? Because that looks like every other planet they go to. It looks like a 1940s, small town in Kansas.
It was one of those wardrobe shows where they're like, we got all this wardrobe sitting around in storage. Let's just go ahead and make a Western today.
It's a planet of the backlot. There's several different planets that are. It's just weird how much they look like backlots that I've worked.
They look like backlots, and they have this great wardrobe.
And I always think they specifically just looks like a backlot, man.
It looks like Mayberry. It's like Star Trek, mashed up with Mayberry. Andy Griffith show.
Yeah. I think it actually is Mayberry.
It probably is.
Oh yeah, it probably is. It's probably all shot on Universal lot.
Or the ranch. There's a bunch of little places that they used back then on Star Trek. There's some were shot at Paramount, where they shot the show, and I can recognize the Paramount backlot. I can tell the difference between the Paramount backlot, the Universal backlot.
Wow.
I can tell the difference between all of them. I know all of those buildings very intimately because I've worked for hours in front of those buildings, and so anytime I see it, I'm like, oh, I know exactly where they are. I know that intersection, and I know what's right around that corner, and I know the wall that's right here off the frame.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it's one of those episodes where they go to a planet that is a analog of an Earth style, and they even speak in a kind of Amish type of like, hello, brother.
Yeah,
How
almost
art
like
thee?
exactly. Late 19th century vibe to it, like
Yeah.
a Western kind of vibe. But they beam down there. It's like the planet is Beta 3, and I guess 100 years ago, the USS Archon was lost there, right? And that's the backstory. Sula comes back up. I can't exactly. Oh, they're looking for somebody, or they're looking for somebody. I can't
I
remember
think
why
they were
they would
just
go down there.
collecting data. Like,
Okay,
it seemed like they were just like to learn. Oh no, they were dispatched to the surface to learn what became of the Archon. They're trying to
Gotcha.
find evidence,
Right.
but they also have
They
this
returned.
they have this prime directive thing where they use they dress in they try to blend in and
Right.
not be conspicuous, even though they beam down right in the middle of the street with people walking.
And it's Sulu and some other guy, and then of course the other guy sort of get chased after, and Sulu gets beamed back up aboard. The other guy is lost, and when Sulu comes back, he's got this euphoric, almost this calm sort of like, just like he's very almost like drugged, like he's high or something, So they know something's up. So everybody goes back. They go back down there, a bigger group, a landing party, along with Kirk and Spock with his, with his robe over his ears and all that stuff.
Looking very.
Because they want to find the guy that was with Sulu that got separated. He ran away and didn't get beamed up. And right before he got beamed up, Sulu got hit by this some kind of a thing from these hooded figures that just walk. They're very creepy looking.
Called Lawgivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you find out that there's this thing called the festival or the Red Hour. It started
sounding very midsummer, so I was kind of getting into it. Like there's gonna be a festival. They're in this weird area, and everyone, they don't know what's happening. It's that classic, drop them into the middle of the festival, and guess what? You're for dinner, kind of thing.
So 6 o'clock happens, and the clocks, strikes 6 o'clock, and all of a sudden these calm, relaxed people suddenly go berserk, and it's just mania. And there's lots of throwing people through windows.
It's fire festival.
Yeah, exactly. And so they hide in this guy's Reger's house, and there's a couple of other older folks there, and they kind of trying to figure out what's going on. So it kind of goes from there, and you find out that there's the leader of this planet is this mysterious man by the name of Landru, played by.
He will not answer a question. Will not answer.
Yeah.
Who are you? What are you?
Will not answer you, Captain.
Played by that actor Charles Macaulay, I think was in another Star Trek episode, and he's a really interesting, weird-looking guy. I remember as a kid watching this, going, Landru creeps me out. There's something about him that's weirdly freaky.
His hairdo and everything. He's kind of he's sort of one of those stately aliens, or
yes,
that he's standing there and he's like a projection, and his voice has that kind of resonance.
And it looks like they stuck his head.
Andrew.
His head was stuck on someone else's body. It was weird. And then they had that weird drape that looked like it came off grandma's couch that wasn't even ironed. They just kind of threw it on and said, that looks better. They're like, no, it doesn't. Doesn't look better.
That it looked like crinkly, kind of like, this will do. Let's put this on him.
It's like, he's not really showing up. It's too dark. It's closer to dark. Just throw something light on him. Someone just had it on their director's chair.
It could have been one of those things where it's like, it's just going to be a projection of his face on the wall. We won't see very much of it.
They show the whole thing and it's so bad.
Let's just use this thing that's over the couch over here.
And he has this great kind of 80s hair. It's all, really high and
very Eraserhead vibe.
Very strange. Very Eraserhead.
But it turns out that on this planet, they have that festival, which is like this rampant, like your inhibitions are gone for a 12-hour period because it ends abruptly, which is really kind of cool. Right when it dings, everybody freezes.
It's almost like an early version of that movie, The Purge.
Yeah,
it's like a
very
version.
much.
You have 5 minutes to do the purge. Okay, done.
But this is in a planet run by a entity known as Landru, and everybody seems really weird to talk about it. It's like, shh, don't talk about Landru because he's listening. And you get Harry Towns. It's like he's so good at like Landru will hear us. And they don't, the Enterprise crew are sort of like, they've seen everything and they're sort of like not really afraid of Landru. And some of Landru's lawgivers come in and they say, you will come with us. You will be absorbed. And Kirk basically says, no, I'm not coming with you. And then they start communing together. They go face to face and they start communing, and Mr. Spock kind of realizes, he says, you know what, they've never encountered that before, and they don't know what to do. And it seems very similar to the way a computer is programmed. When it encounters data it doesn't recognize.
Spock is so damn smart. Is he ever wrong?
And as a quick aside, do you know who plays the main lawgiver, like lawgiver number one? The Sid Haig is under there.
Okay.
Ah, that's funny. Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of see his face.
That's funny. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
So this one's got Sid Haig and Torrin Thatcher in it. That's some interesting film presence in this episode. But it's one of those episodes where it's huh?
That's about as complimentary as we can get this episode.
Well, it's like people from movies.
Actually pretty good cast, like of supporting players, guest stars. And I thought Torrin Thatcher was very good as this kind of like, you can tell right away when he kind of comes in, like there's something about this guy. He's gonna predominantly be a part of the rest of the show,
or something is going to happen, because you don't cast Torrin Thatcher in a role where he just comes in and turns on a machine and then walks out. Something's going to come up with Torrin Thatcher. He's going to have to do something.
He's like the actors they cast in like Law and Order, when it's this big actor that they kind of throw into this nothing role, and you're like, well, they're the killer. Done.
It's like Julia Roberts is the receptionist.
It's so funny.
But this one's got, they beam down and you've got a lot of the old familiar faces too, from the, Eddie Paskey plays Leslie again, and he's sort of in the team with them, but he doesn't say a word.
He's the red shirt that doesn't die, though.
The red shirt who just is there for fill out space.
Yeah.
But it's basically one of those episodes where the story involves them trying to get their people back out of because there's a scary scene too, where they take Dr. McCoy and they to the absorption chamber, and he comes back and he's like Sulu now. He's all like, hello friend, are you of the body? And it's just, it's kind of, imagine, when this came out, when this aired, it was before the Manson cult, before the Manson stuff happened, but it was during a time when a lot of people, it was, the movies like Invasion of the Body Snatchers had that idea that someone being, absorbed by a belief or a cult or something, and then you cannot shake them out of it. And it's that scary idea. I thought that's kind of a scary idea. It shows up in several episodes of every science fiction in the world.
It kind of reminded me of A Handmaid's Tale, where they have that sort of greeting of "Blessed be the fruit." May the Lord.
It has a lot.
It's this whole culty, and so that's why I thought it had potential, because I liked the idea that it was this creepy cult.
But the problem with the show, I think, is there's a lot of stuff being thrown at you.
Yes.
But you're trying to do this in 50 minutes, in an hour, and also sort of wrap it up and, in a bow. And it's just too much stuff. There was just too much stuff that just sort of fell away. And it turned.
Are we going to do anomalies and commendations now? Is it a good time for that?
Let's talk about it a little bit more. I have a few more things to talk about the episode. It's like it's an episode, like Mark was saying, it has so many ideas, and you get this opening thing about festival, when they beam down, it's this violent 6 hours, and you're wondering how long. I mean, is it every night at 6, or is it only once a month, or is it once a year or something? But it doesn't really come back into the story.
It's just like they never go back to it. They don't really do anything with it. They don't follow up. It's like, what the fuck was that for? Like,
they're not like looking at their watches going, we have only 5 minutes until festival starts. We have to get out of here.
Like, there's a festival. Okay, festival's done. Next.
It just turns into them sort of being in prison. How do they escape? And how do they and that's just where it sort of ends, which is not a bad. You get to understand what Landru is at the end, and okay, that's kind of interesting, I guess. But they just felt like I liked the characters in it. I liked sort of I liked some of the dialogue. I loved Of the Body and Friend. I like that, but the story sort of was limp. That's what I felt. It just sort of dragged, to me, it just sort of dragged along.
I felt like they should have focused on one aspect of it or something, or less, just take out the festival part and just have the people being these mindless, slow walking, hello friend, you know, these zombie types. But the whole idea of that violent festival thing, as fun as it is to watch at the beginning, of people, you know, throwing things through windows and burning chairs in the middle of the backlot street, it doesn't really serve a purpose in the story. It's not an element of the action or the
well, I guess, were they trying to sort of insinuate this is their time to be a free human and sort of instead of like being a, you know, possessed, only allowed to do good things, you know, and that way everyone's protected. So they have 1 second to be a real human, and so sort of expose that that's why humans are terrible, because when you let them do what they want, this is the kind of shit that happens. Everybody goes crazy and hurts each other. And then they go back to being that sort of, they don't have freedom, but they have peace. So what's the trade-off? Well, we don't have, you know, violence and stupidity going on.
Well, that would have been a good way to, you know, for the story to progress. Like there's the daughter of the Harry Towns character, who you meet her briefly, you know,
right.
And all of a sudden, as soon as it hits 6 o'clock, you know, some guy comes over and whatever, she starts screaming and all this kind of, but then you never see
so many
her.
Screaming women. Oh my God.
Know, but I thought
it would have been after the
festival,
festival, and she's crying, and he's just telling her, go to bed. It's over now. It's over. It's over. And she seems traumatized, and the guy, you know, the guest star, who's, you know, the new crew member that we get to know, sort of, who has the most lines, he sort of seems very concerned about her, and you think, oh, there's going to be a love interest thing here, you know.
Yeah,
it's another thing that never happens. You don't see her again. She's traumatized. That's it.
Well, we have the big reveal about, you know, who he is, who Landru, whatever his name is.
Landru.
Landon. We get to see him, and we basically have Kirk with one of those classic, Kirk's going to outsmart the computer thing, you know. And it was so lame. Like, he didn't do anything that would make the computer freak out. Like, not like that great famous, you know, Kirk thing of like, everything you say is a lie, everything I say is a lie, and then the computer's like, what? He didn't even have that. It was kind of like this really stupid questioning, and this and the computer's like, what? And you're seeing the computer get kind of offended, but you're like, why? It was just so
it happened before. There's another episode called The Changeling, you know, where he's and also the first motion picture, you know, that had V'ger. And it was that kind of argument that you want perfection, and yet you are not perfect yourself. Then but not perfect, must be perfect. You know, that kind of like, it goes into a data cycle, and it starts exploding.
The puff of smoke, you know. Yeah. The classic puff of smoke.
It just kind of goes
and all the
like a flat tire.
I think there's a lot of promise in it. I like the build up. I think as soon as they went into that sort of prison dungeon thing, it's sort of, to me, limped. I wanted to be back out on Mayberry and dealing with those other characters, and maybe talking to other characters and their struggle. They're like, they know they're sort of stuck in this situation.
Right.
You know, it's almost like the characters in WandaVision who are like, help us, you know, this same sort of thing. If you're watching, you know, a little bit.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a missed opportunity. There's some things in it I like. I don't hate it as much as Kathy.
Is that an accommodation or anomaly?
Well, should we do the commendations?
We are kind of doing them without the segment.
Because I have some commendations and some anomalies.
All right.
Let's hear it. Technical anomalies.
I want to hear it because I can't think of any right now. So I want to hear what you guys say.
That puff of smoke, Kathy. That's a comment.
I did love that puff of smoke. It was awesome.
The commendations I have are the weirdnesses in the episode. I like how there's those hooded figures that when they talk, their voices sound weird. There's an effect on their voice. And also they have those tubes that they point at you. It's like a great prop design, I think. And Mr. Spock finally gets one, and he looks at it and he said, this is a hollow tube. There's no mechanism. It's almost like the effects that they have are broadcast from somewhere or transmitted.
Right.
And the voices of those things were kind of creepy. They just sort of walk in like zombies, and they say, you come with us. You are to be absorbed. And it's like, those are to me kind of creepy characters. And Landru himself is creepy in a weird way, because he's been dead for 600 years or something, or 6,000 years. Yeah.
6,000. Yeah.
We could tell 6,000 years ago because, you know, the hair. It's very
that's
dated.
the style 6,000 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that was Dippity Doo, which is, you know, with six. They don't have that anymore.
Dippity Doo.
They phased that out about 7,000 years ago, though. I think it's maybe before his time. But the that kind of stuff had the potential, like Mark was saying, it had potential to be a little bit even more creepy. And if they'd focused on the creepy aspects of being absorbed by a cult and how people change when they get absorbed, and then ways to deprogram them, like in this one, it seems like it's some kind of a, electrical brainwave alteration. They put you in a machine and press a bunch of buttons, and then bzz, you're absorbed, and now you follow Landru.
Yeah.
But there's an you don't really get to see Dr. McCoy come out of it or Sulu come out of it. You see them affected by it, and then later people just say, oh, he's doing better. And so whatever effect it had is something that can fade away. It's not permanent. Yeah. But they don't really get into how it works. It would have been cool if there was some kind of a process, like we've got to get back to the machine and put them in and reverse the process or something.
They wasted too much time in prison thing. I mean, like, I liked it when they were on the surface in that town, which is the same set that the episode with Michael J. Pollard and Kim Darby.
Yeah, with the bike.
Much better effect, because it was just creepier. That particular planet, those scenes, the way it was directed was creepier because there was sound. The kids, whatever, giggling and stuff like that.
Boom. What'd they say? Boom boom.
Bonk bonk on the head.
Bonk bonk on the head. That's what it's bonk bonk.
Yeah, that had a creepy element to it, and that they could have done something like that if they kept it on the surface in that little that block in the back lot,
right?
And just had those lawgivers kind of come out of nowhere or something. That would have, I think, lended some air to the episode as opposed to sort of the stiflingness of the last 15 minutes for me, anyway.
That plays into my anomaly, which I have with a lot of episodes and a lot of science fiction, in fact. Is this implication that an entire planet is represented by one small village? It's like when they beam down, it's almost like this town is the planet, and Landru controls everyone on the planet. Does he, or is it just in this one little neighborhood,
little western town
somewhere in Sioux City? Iowa.
Like four block
Does he make
radius.
him dress like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they just went like they just beam down 100 miles to the west, it could be just a normal place.
You guys didn't let me have my commendation.
Oh, sorry.
You haven't had
Sorry,
your
it's
turn
okay.
yet.
I don't have any. I don't have any. It's all right. Damn it! No, the one commendation. I loved Sulu's outfit with the ruffles. Okay, I'm done.
Well, Sulu is great in this episode.
Always
he does
great.
A great Sulu face where he's
I like the opening scene.
He does his great, like
the opening scene where he's being chased had potential, and then it just went.
Well, a blissful Sulu face.
For me, the commendation is that it has the episode had ambition. It had a lot of interesting story ideas at the outset. So the ambition is there, but the follow through lacked. It lacked follow through.
No focus.
It's just sort of limped to the finish line.
Sometimes you have too many ideas. Like if you have one really good idea, like the whole idea of the cult and the mind control, keep it there and don't do all this other dumb shit.
Yeah, but they have enough time to in most other episodes to kind of mine a lot of different ideas. I just think this script sort of gave up a little bit. And
look at you mentioned WandaVision a little while ago. Look what WandaVision does with a half hour.
Right.
It's like this episode had so many things, like you were saying, the dungeon stuff. There was a lot of business in the dungeon.
A lot of business.
God.
Oh yeah. And you just want to get back. You were saying get back into the more exciting areas, and the things that were more interesting.
Yeah.
And you've got also there's drama happening up on the Enterprise. They're losing orbit. They're being hit by these heat rays and whatever.
Yeah.
But another anomaly that I had, aside from the planet being representative represented by one tiny town, and we have to wonder that whole town is the planet somehow,
right?
And the other thing is the idea of spoiler, the villain being a computer. Like they always say in science fiction, there's these two things, it's tropes that you always hear, that the bad guy turns out to either be a computer or a child. And like in the Squire of Gothos or a few other kind of in Corbomite Maneuver, where the scary villain turns out to be a small, weak kind of thing. This is one of those episodes where the villain turns out to be a computer. There's a few of those in the Star Trek canon, Landru, I guess, is one of them that is, like you were saying, this is an anomaly that I have. When they finally bust through the wall and they find the source of Landru, it's a computer prop that they've used over and over. It's a very familiar computer prop.
Oh, we have a guest.
Look at that.
She would like to. What did you think of this episode? She said there weren't any dogs in it, which is a crime on an Earth-like planet, and that she thought that Hulu's outfit was also very nice.
Sulu?
Did I say Uhura?
Did you say Hulu?
Hulu.
Hulu is when Sulu and Uhura had a baby.
You're right. She did say that. I'm sorry. She's a dog. She doesn't know how to pronounce things.
She doesn't watch enough television.
So speaking of Uhura, she didn't have any lines. What the hell? And all the women had just screamed and cried. It was just kind of stupid. So that was another problem. So
that the character I mentioned earlier, the daughter, she could have been an interesting character.
Yeah.
And why just keep it there and keep it in that what's going on the surface?
You get a setup where it seems like she's going to be a cool character or somebody that's going to defy and rebel.
She's just a woman. Get rid of this character. We don't need her.
Expected her to join their little band of rebels.
Anything. No, this episode's a mess. I saw it. I hated how it looked. I hated how it was. I hated everything about it.
You didn't even like Sid Haig, under the Lawgivers.
It wasn't enough, man. Even Sid Haig couldn't save this. That's how bad it was.
I certainly liked it better than you because I liked the ideas of it.
I think because it came right after Court Martial, which I thought was really tight. And again, I love when their episodes are simpler and in like a small space, like even just the ship. Yeah. But when they have episodes like this, I feel like they're just sort of this lazy, like Burke's saying, lot, based, planet with a bunch of cheesy wardrobe because everybody's tired of wearing their uniforms. Yeah. I instantly turn off. I'm like, hated it. So, and also not only did I hate it because of that, it was just stupid. And I hate to say stupid because that's a stupid thing to say about anything. We're like, I'm bored and it's stupid, but the ideas never followed through. The computer was weak. The computer didn't even look good. I feel like they just had no budget and then they wrote the script first draft, just get it done. Everybody just kind of ran through it first round and said, done, one take, we're good. Just never felt really fully formed.
That's what I was going to say about the computer. It doesn't look cool. When they finally bust the wall
it's a
down,
box.
It's just a box with blinkies on it. Yeah. And it could have been something really cool. It could have been a brain in a glass, like a glass container with a brain, a 6,000-year-old brain or something.
Something more organic or weird.
And why didn't they drape that beautiful, crinkly thing they took off in the corner of the stage? Why didn't they just put that over the computer?
Oh, the snark is
It was really weak, but it's really weak in comparison to what had been some strong episodes. So I think it was especially glaring to me to see it right after the other good episode. I was like, whoa, guys.
That's what makes it hurt so much.
It does. And I don't like to say it. I don't enjoy hating on Star Trek.
But they can't.
Marshall was so great. The one we talked about just before this one.
Right.
It's like such a great episode.
So fun.
But then this one, it's like after
and a great female character.
Yeah.
I have to think, I guess, just, you're doing this. I don't know how, there's like, 25 episodes?
Do not feel sorry for them. No,
I'm not feeling sorry. I'm just saying, like,
it's not their fault. They were busy.
All can't be classics.
Right.
We consider it
they must be classics.
We consider it
how about just competent?
It's certainly it's competent.
It is not competent, Mark. No. It is an incompetent episode.
You're putting it in the bottom run. There's worse.
There is worse. It was the theater episode and Mud's Women. Boom.
Oh, there's worse coming up.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. There is.
We're going to have a lot of fun coming up.
I can't wait to tear it to shreds.
But as a whole, Star Trek. The series, of course, is classic, and we love the series to death.
We do.
It's beautiful.
But some are better than others.
It's true.
Some are better than others, yeah. Right.
Yeah,
you can't have a whole, solid run of like 80-something episodes.
You guys are much nicer to this episode than me. But that's okay.
I enjoy watching all these because these are a trip down memory lane. They're fun to watch. They look really good. It's fun to watch, and I go, this one's kind of a clinker, but it's okay. I'm still enjoying.
I'm just being a mean girl.
Yeah.
You're tough.
All right. So let's just. Let's say goodbye to the Archons now. I just
Culver.
Spend any more time on the Archons.
The lovely Culver Backlot. I think they used to call that 40 acres.
Goodbye to the Archons. That's what Caddy wanted to call
Goodbye,
it.
Archons, and do not
That's going to be our podcast title.
do not return. Oh, I'm so glad that's over.
Well, I'll speak for Burke and say Burke and I liked, kind of liked it. I mean, we sort of liked it, but a lot of things we didn't like about it. You hated it.
Could easily skip this episode and move on to a better episode. There's no reason for anyone to watch this.
Well, it's Star Trek. It's like I'll watch any of them because there's something fun in every one of them. You know, there's something going to be fun about it somehow.
Right.
Some are there's a few episodes that I do not like.
I can't wait to hear.
Oh, this one is a bad one. But I wouldn't put this one in as an episode that I would say was bad. I would just say it's not. I don't enjoy
not
it
good.
as much as the other ones.
Right.
It's not great. Yeah, but it's
not bad, but not good.
I love the imagery in it. In some cases, those hooded guys with the sticks that they point at you, and some things like when he unveils this lighting panel, and Spock says this is a technology that's very advanced and it's from a long time ago. And the idea of they used to be advanced, but now they went back to this primitive.
Yeah.
I don't know. So there's some things I like about it.
That's good. Well, next week is Space Seed,
that's a good one.
See, now it looks even worse compared to that. So we're going to talk about that next week.
It's bookended by some really great ones.
Yeah. Yes. So we can give them a clinker here and there, Kathy.
That's right. Well, it's okay. It's fun to listen to people, dish.
Try to defend garbage.
To see you guys tap dance about how the great potential this episode had that it did not realize.
All right.
It's a compliment.
All right.
And DeForest Kelly is really good in this, we should mention.
He didn't mispronounce anything, I think.
But he does a scene where he gets to play sort of a different type of person. And, it's always fun to see the actors get to branch out a little bit.
We didn't see him being all leering in some of these creepy episodes.
Didn't he say, "You're not of the Bodhi"? Didn't he say that? That would have been great.
Okay, until next time.
Yes. Return
We
of the
are,
Archons.
Burke. What's it called? We are... working out.
Yeah, we're gonna put this one to bed, and
Please.
we're going to tell
Put it
Mr.
out of its
Sulu
misery.
to take us out of orbit at warp factor 7, Mr. Sulu.